Welcome to The Problem, a Lockwood & Co. podcast. I'm Caitlin.
I'm Alan.
And this week we are talking about the 5th episode, Death is Coming, which was directed by Catherine Morshed and written by Joy Wilkinson. And I did not look at those names before just reading them off, so I'm glad that that went well.
Perfect execution.
Also, I enjoy that we are here on this weekend of North American independence from England to talk about an English show.
Oh, yeah.
Happy July 1st, everyone.
I literally keep forgetting that it's the independence of America time. People keep
on the 4th.
Don't come to work that day. Yeah.
Today's. Not that it matters. I really don't care because I'm sure they gave us our country under the condition that we still murdered the same people that they were murdering, so I don't think much changed.
Here's the deal.
Yeah.
Keep everything the same.
You have to finish our genocide. And we were like, yeah, sounds good.
Yep. North American history.
And keep our spelling. And we were like, we'll give you some of it.
Right.
Also, I'm keeping my window open. I just want to warn everyone because it's summer. And I will melt. But my neighborhood is very loud. And that's really going to bother me when I'm editing, but whatever. I don't want to die.
Just ignore the sound of people cutting
down
trees.
Ignore anything that happens. There might be crow. There was a dying crow, I swear to God, outside this morning. No. Sometimes there's garbage trucks on a Saturday. I don't know. Let's jump into the episode before I just sit here and complain all day like the old person that I am. That I always aspired to be, actually, too. Oh, that's nice.
You made it. We start off with Lucy and Skull in the kitchen.
The beginning of a wonderful friendship.
Yeah. She looks very cute here with her head just staring, like got her head on her arms, just staring at Skull.
And then I forget who says it, but Lockwood walks in and says something about trying to get a head start because she's talking to the Skull.
I was like, that's got to be on purpose.
I hope so. I want season 2 for many, many reasons, but I really just want sarcastic Skull that we get in the later books. I want it so much.
I know that the guy who does the voice for Skull is a comedian, so I feel like part of the reason why they hired him was maybe so he could riff in funny ways.
It's gonna be so good. Like, all he's gonna do is think to himself, wait, I have this one person I can give a lot of shit to. I'm gonna give her so much shit.
And I can talk about the other ones and they can't hear me, kind of stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's so good. I want it.
It'll happen.
God, I hope so. Anyways, George comes in and Lockwood is being a bit of a dick already.
Yeah. He's on it this morning. I like that Lucy says here, like, what if the mirror is death? She just cuts to the quick of everything. And Lockwood's like, who knows? I'm not worried about that.
Yeah, he's definitely just worried about winning his bet. I should have checked the book. Do you remember, did Skull say death is coming at the end of book 1 when he spoke to Lucy there?
I can't remember. He definitely does say the thing that you were talking about last time where it's like life is in death and death is in life.
The bit that they cut. Yeah.
He does say that the death is coming. He does say that, but I don't remember if it's in book 1.
I am just quickly gonna check because apparently I care that much. Oh, I ended up in the glossary.
Oh, go to the end of the book.
Yeah.
Do all the books have glossaries? I know the first one.
I think so.
In the audiobook they do. Yeah. They don't do that again in the next book though. I always like a proper fantasy glossary at the end. I always like that.
He says death's coming to you all.
That's close.
Deaths in life, lives and deaths, and what is fixed is fluid. And then that's pretty much it. Interesting. Well, so they have kind of changed it a little bit.
They just didn't edit. Death is coming to you all is a little bit expansive and redundant. You just say like death is coming. You don't need to.
No, I feel like that works if you do have the rest of the prophecy that he gives, the lives and death and deaths in life. But without that, just saying death is coming is a lot more ominous, I guess.
Yeah.
Because it could be you are going to die, or it could be something real bad is coming.
Right, exactly.
Do you think George is meant to be acting a little different than he usually is here? Or is George normal and Lockwood is just being a dick? Or is it a bit of both?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. George is still grumpy. He's still like, the thing that makes him mad is like Lockwood's like, we'll do it together. And then George is like, well, I guess I should get out of here, huh? So he's still using that as a weapon. So you can tell he's smarting.
Yeah, but I don't know if I can't decide if George not wanting to go to the archives instead of the cemetery is out of character. Like if that's, you know what I mean? Because George loves going to the archives. But
I feel like there's no chance of stumbling on the mirror at the archives.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm trying to decide. Like, is him being upset about that, is that mirror, or is that like, would George actually feel that way? Like he wants to go to the cemetery and look around. I genuinely can't tell.
Yeah, it's good because it's like just enough that it could be either way.
Yeah.
So you're just like, something feels wrong.
It is also good how they right away make George start feeling left out.
Yeah. He grabs a thing here. So he wants coffee in the morning. Did he grab like a coffee press and a grinder?
It looked like a French press, yeah.
Yeah. And Lockwood's like, we don't have time for that.
Which is fair. French press, you got to let that sit for a couple minutes, like takes a while. I mean, to be fair, they're all like, we're going to get there early and we're going to get there before Fitz. So we'll be ahead of them. And I'm just like, but why? Why do you think that? Why do you think they don't get up in the morning? Like, I don't understand.
They probably have like their own cars. They have like, there's people there who make them breakfast and they like tell them we're going to get up extra early on this day and all that kind of stuff. There's like, yeah, Lockwood's deluding himself. I like Lucy plays the peacemaker here. She tries to smooth it all out.
I also enjoy anytime you make your employer buy you coffee. Like that should happen all the time.
Is coffee popular in the UK though? Like
I have no idea.
Like it's I don't feel like, well, I mean, people obviously drink coffee in the UK, but like I wonder if it's only in the morning or like in America we drink coffee constantly, and if you order tea, everybody looks at you like, what? So I just thought they had tea in the morning.
I do that because I don't, well, I enjoy like a latte, but I don't enjoy a cup of coffee. I don't know otherwise. I do know some people who don't think a cup of tea is like sufficient wake up caffeine,
Right. Yeah. They just want to chew on coffee beans in the morning and then have an energy drink. The ultimate fate of this coffee is to not be drank at all.
I think
is the tragedy.
Yes, that is very true. I do think, like with all consumables on a television or movie, you just sort of have to assume, because like they don't want to do it on camera, because then they have to do it every single take, and then suddenly he's drinking 10 cups of coffee. So I think sometimes you just have to go with it.
That's true.
Suspend your disbelief is what I was trying to say there.
Yeah, that's fair.
I like to think he drank half of it, But then we go back to the cemetery and we get a song this episode, which is No Love Lost by Joy Division, which is not a song I like. I've never enjoyed Joy Division, but it works really well here because they don't give us the whole song.
Yeah. It's like a guitar riff when they're walking in. Yeah, it's very cool.
It's nice.
Yep. And we bump into Fitz.
Because they're already there and they've already done their investigating, because of course they have.
Yeah, they're done. So good job. We get Saunders here. So good.
Oh, yeah. He's just like, great, insurance money, everything's fine. Who cares?
Oh, my God. This is why we have insurance.
Yeah.
For when children get knocked out. It's like, we'll be raking in the money. It's such a piece of shit.
And then I actually really love the writing of Joplin here, because she is supposed to be the more sympathetic one, but even she doesn't bring up the kid. She's just like, the relic is gone. This is important. Yeah. And he's just like, shut up. It's all about the money. But I think only our team is like, and the 12-year-old that got knocked out.
Like, right. The literal child.
The literal child you had on security. God, that's a different world. I did want to point out that I really love Lucy's whole outfit here. with the blue pants that match her blue and black jacket.
It's very good.
It's cute. I like it.
She's got her utility belt on. It really, she's like ready to go.
I should have written it down. Somebody on Twitter pointed out that Lucy has like the equivalent of a cell phone charm on her rapier.
Oh, I've never noticed that.
I think like you see the charm in her bedroom in the first episode, and then it's like on her rapier. And that is the best detail ever.
That makes so much sense. Yeah.
That they would like decorate their rapiers to be their own thing. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I love that so much.
It's also like, yeah, I immediately feel bad about that because it's also like another little market for these kids. Be like, we could sell to these kids that you're express your individuality before you go to die to preserve our society. Ugh.
Oh, and before we get to Saunders, Kipps is such an asshole here, which is interesting to me because, like, next episode he asks Lucy out, and I'm just, in what world? Like, you're just an asshole. Not like necessary. Well, here he's not an asshole to her, although previously he was, but around her. So what was he fucking thinking?
Oh no, that makes total sense to me.
Oh, okay.
That's not, I mean, not as like, and that's what I would do, but like,
right.
that kind of male thinking. Yeah. I was like, yeah, that's how you do it. Is you establish your dominance of the other man in front of her. And then you're like, you want to be with me, right? That's how it works.
But okay. Yeah. That's fair. I suppose my thinking on this is like, we're supposed to like Kipps eventually. Like, I remember when I was reading the books, I'm so sorry. I'm going to talk about some late book spoilers here. So I don't know. Skip ahead if you care. I was spoiled for the fact that Kipps does join the Lockwood and Co. team eventually. And I was like, how? Why? Why would they forgive this asshole? Like, they have actually made him better in the show because he's not sticking up for his teammate who's a big bully. But still.
Yeah, they kind of cut that whole thing out of here, which was probably the right move. Yeah, I always like that kind of arc where your rival becomes like part of the team.
Oh, yeah. By the end of book 5, I was all in. Like, he was part of the team. It was great. But for the first 2 books, I was just like, Tumblr must be wrong.
What do you mean Vegeta and Goku become friends? Yeah, I get what you're saying, though.
Anyways, just after they have their talk with Joplin and Saunders, when they're walking away, I do like Joplin takes like this double take look back at George after he agrees with her about the relic. And I like that because you can kind of see that she's already got a plan.
Yeah, she gets an idea. I have so many thoughts about this, especially when I found out that the actress and me are like literally the same age. I was like, oh, wow.
Oh, yeah, it's really creepy, but well done.
No, it's like, good. Yeah.
For what it is. Yeah.
Yep. We go into the crime scene again, try to find things that no one else has found. And immediately George accomplishes that. Yeah.
The cops didn't find it.
Nobody found it.
Nobody. Fitz didn't find it. I feel like from reading the books that Deepak is the police. Like that there is no longer separate. Because in the book, they talk about like Scotland Yard and blah, 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 blah. So that there isn't regular human police and ghost police. There is just DPRAC. But that doesn't make sense because that is for the psychical blah, 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 whatever DPRAC stands for.
Yeah, I just assume they're like the cops for this kind of thing. So that's why we just don't see the other cops.
We just never see them.
Yeah.
Even, it's just interesting because like once the Winkmans get involved and everything, you'd think regular police, then regular human police. But I don't remember that in the book. Anyways, we get George staring at the swirl in his coffee.
Yeah, I think this is the first swirl of the episode.
I think so, yeah.
So that's a big deal. The badge that he found was a Tendies badge, so it's like a different
agency.
Another
great bit of world building here, because they don't stop and say, oh, from the Tendies agency. They just say Tendies badge, and you get from context clues that that's another agency.
Yeah, they just trust you.
Which I love when writers trust the viewers. God, it happens so seldom.
It's really nice too for like book people to like anytime that you hear the other agencies, which are also briefly mentioned in the book, you'd be like, oh yeah, that's the world. So that's cool.
And then Lockwood once again insists that George go to the archives, but George is like, fuck that. I'm going to look around the cemetery.
Yeah, he immediately, Lockwood like has to do this whole deduction thing with Lucy, but George immediately has already done that as soon as he walks out of the building.
My note for that, I just wrote down Lockwood and Lucy. Wow, Lockwood and Lucy flirt, and then I went, I mean, role play, investigate.
Yeah, it's like this was like this is one of these moments where I'm never very good at like. Sometimes people will tell me like that woman was flirting with you, and I was like, no, that's not a thing that happens. And this was one of those things where it was like, is he flirting? They're talking about role play. Is this the case? What is, I don't know.
At the very least, they are enjoying showing off for each other.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then George finds a dead body.
Yeah.
And actually, I do think this is one of the true, like, almost jump scares in the show. Like, I did not enjoy, like, you can almost feel it coming when he's looking at the water, especially if you've read the book. But it was still just like, ugh.
It's genuinely scary.
Yeah.
There's also like a tiny little world building thing here that I don't think they've mentioned. They talk about it in the books a lot, where running water makes things safer, which is like also like a ghost lore thing from way, way back across all kinds of cultures.
It's a lot of supernatural things like fairies, I don't think, and witches sometimes.
They don't like
witches
water.
don't like water.
All kinds of stuff.
Yeah, it's a lot of things. That's interesting.
So like, in the books, they use running water in like shops and stuff to like make people feel safer. But they haven't really done that in the show. That would be expensive to do that kind of stuff.
To just have a water feature anytime.
Yeah. Don't. That would be weird. But yeah, so I appreciate that they mention it here. And then that's the reason why they're like, oh, this would be the way to get in, because it's safer for grownups who can't sense the ghosts, and it's not at the gate. So it's like, it's really smart.
But they are still walking into a cemetery. So once they get past the water, the ghosts will be waiting for them. But I think it's mentioned later that the dead body person, Danny, is not quite out of his talent.
He's not useful to the agency anymore, but he's got just enough juice to like partner with a relic man.
Yeah. That's going to be fun to talk about in a bit.
Yeah.
And then Lockwood knows the dead body, and then we're into the opening credits.
It's a good credits roll.
Yeah, it's good.
I know that, man. Yeah, so, and that's like a little bit of their edge there, because they're not able, when Deepak shows up, they're not able to identify this person.
Right, yes.
And so he's already got the inside thing. They know the agency that he was from and all that stuff, so...
I can't imagine Barnes doesn't know that they hate each other and like that they will never work. Like, and also their bet was like announced to the cemetery. I don't understand.
I feel like Barnes wouldn't know about the bet. Like nobody would tell him about that.
I guess, yeah, like the hot dog guy is going to be like, oh, a cop, I got a snitch.
Yeah, right. And then I feel like he does know, and that's the point of this, to be like, this will make them get over their like childish rivalry. I will mend these fences and make Lockwood more like Kip's, the way that he should be. You know what I mean?
God. I want to like Barnes because I do in the books eventually, but sometimes, I mean, I like him later, like in like the last episode, he's got some good moments and stuff.
I like this Barnes a lot more than book Barnes, but
he is more in depth. I suppose I meant later in the books when he is a little bit more on their side of things. That, and I guess we just haven't had that with this Barnes yet.
Yeah, I feel like for Barnes, he had no idea who Lockwood and Co. were at all until they burned down a house. Yep. And so like, for him, that's like who they are. They're just fuck ups, and they have like no grown up oversight. And he's like, they're just idiots.
Although they did solve that murder right away, but
Yeah. So now he's like, well, Kips, you tutor them to become like, they have potential, right? But they're like, clearly they're just totally unsafe. And so you bring them up the way that they should be. And
Yeah, I
it's
guess
like,
that
you
makes.
have that totally wrong, Barnes. It's like the opposite.
And actually, as I was with the spoilers, the opposite does happen.
Mm-hmm.
So that's great. Um, so yes, the dead body is Danny Clough. Oh
Oh,
shoot,
yeah.
I don't remember. I wrote it down, but Clough? No, I'm gonna stop
He
trying.
does say it something like that. Yeah, I don't know. I wrote it down too. I
I think
like
you just
use the
need an English
subtitles.
accent to
Yeah,
say it.
exactly.
Yeah. Old friend of Lockwood who tutored him a bit when he was first starting out as an agent, but is no longer an agent and fell into being a relic man and clawed his eyes out.
Clawed his own eyes out. So that's a really good detail.
That's a fun time for everyone. And it's great that George has also looked into the mirror, right?
Right. No problem. And that was like, and it's also kind of important that he is not fully talented and that happened to him, I feel like.
Oh, yeah.
Like this thing's really powerful.
Yeah. And then George finally does go off to the archives. And okay, here's where I get a little bit iffy on this episode. Because Lockwood is all, you go to the archives, we have something to do, we'll meet back at the house at midnight. Where did the day go? They left the house early.
Right.
Like that was a specific plot point. And then
I feel
suddenly
like it's before lunch and now it's night.
and then they're at the Thames and it's dark. And I'm like, why did that happen? Where did this day go? And maybe there were some hours where they had to wait around for Deepak to get the dead body out of the river and stuff. But like, I don't think that would have taken 8 hours. What?
Yeah, that whole thing's confusing.
This would bother me less if they hadn't made such a point about leaving early, you know? Like.
Mm-hmm. And it kind of follows the book because they like really fill up their day when all this stuff happens. It all happens in the daytime and it's like not their usual, like they do stuff at night.
Yeah.
And they run like all day long past curfew into the night. It's like a very long day. But in this, we just literally time skip and they just seem to hand wave it and be like, hope you didn't notice.
I noticed. What time? Also, what time of year is it? When is the sun going down? That's a big
I noticed that
plot point in the books
background,
too. So
there's like autumn tree stuff happening, like when they're in the graveyard and stuff. All the leaves have fallen off the trees and stuff. So
okay.
It could be getting dark earlier, but this seems crazy.
I mean, it does. At least for me, I noticed when I was in England over the winter that it got dark very early, and it gets dark early here. But I do recall very vividly being out somewhere at like 4 p.m. and it being pitch black.
Oh.
But that was in December.
Yeah, it doesn't seem, I don't know though. Yeah, it just, I definitely noticed the time skip though.
It's weird. It bothers me. And especially because he specifically says midnight and then they get back after midnight. And I'm like, but how?
Yeah.
And then we get Lockwood already sort of being affected by the death of his friend and like, because, Lucy notices that he's acting a little different and tries to talk to him. And he's just like, no, whatever. I don't care that he's dead. And it's like,
oh yeah.
I don't
when
think
they're
that's
going
true.
up the spiral staircase.
Yeah, I hardly knew him or whatever.
Yeah. He's definitely deflecting everything.
Yeah. So now he's got the bet and this, not only the death of this friend, but like him falling to ruin from Lockwood's point of view, getting in with relic men.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, if you're feeling sad or stressed, like what you should do is like add more pressure to yourself.
Yeah.
That will enhance your performance.
For a distraction. You can't,
right.
You can't, it's wrong.
To not feel things.
Yeah. You don't want to stop and have to think about it. Jeez. That's definitely the wrong thing to do.
It's the way to go. You're doing it, Lockwood.
He is absolutely the healthiest option here for his mental health. George gets turned away at the archives because apparently they have a limit.
It's like a nightclub in there. They're like, we fit our body limit.
He even has to like pay a cover charge.
Yeah, it's crazy. But this must be in the analog world of the problem. Like the library is like a extremely important resource.
Yeah.
For, and it's weird though. And it's another like economic marker because they make a point of like the Fitz guys can just like push a button. They have their own resources, and all of these lower, companies have to like go to the public library.
But they still have to pay to get in.
Right.
So if they can't pay, if they don't have that money, then they're shit out of luck.
Yeah.
God, the classism.
They get you going both ways. It's good.
Pamela to the rescue because she's on the board. The board of what? It doesn't matter.
The board of the library. But she gets him in. I like again, that kind of underlines the classism of it, right? Like the rules don't apply to her. And he like enjoys the benefit of that.
Yep.
But it's like, it just shows how it's messed up.
And then, suddenly it's the middle of the night and we're on the Thames.
Yeah. Yeah. This is where Lucy, where she says, when am I not nice?
Oh,
and
yeah.
it like underlines the disjunction between book Lucy and show Lucy to me. Because she, still has her attitude chip on her shoulder sometimes, but nothing like book Lucy, where she is like, I will actively destroy people who annoy me.
Well, and book Lucy also, I think when they first go to the cemetery to deal with the mirror is when she thinks to herself, maybe this is why I don't have any female friends.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, Lucy, I love you. But yeah, no, she really nailed that. When am I not nice? That's good. And then we get the ghost baby, and I don't like the ghost baby.
Oh yeah, the cold maiden stuff is good. This is right out of the book too.
Mm-hmm.
I like how this is handled.
It's near enough to the book. In the book it was a little different, but
it's like long and drawn out.
Yeah. So this makes more sense. Although I dislike how useless they make Lucy here. Like she couldn't even get her rapier out. She just runs. She doesn't try to do anything. But whatever.
Yeah. It's so that we get scared, right? So that it freaks us out.
Yeah. And it means that Flo got to have a good entrance. So
yeah,
I dislike it, but I would have hated it more if like Lockwood rescued her. But instead, Flo just gets a cool entrance, so I'm fine with that.
Mm-hmm.
But
and it's still, that's how that whole cold maiden thing resolves in the book too. Is like she basically uses them for bait.
Yeah.
And then traps the source herself and saves Lucy, but like she used Lucy as bait. The only difference being that like in the book they gave their consent without understanding what was going to happen to them, but she just takes advantage of the situation. It's an awesome entrance for Flo, I think.
I love what they've done with Flo here.
She's really, really good.
Her costume is almost like exactly as it was described in the book, which again, not very important, but fun. And I love that they made her more of a real person, which, because in the book, I feel like Jonathan Stroud will always go for the laugh. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm, which works a lot of the time, but in a TV show, it would work a lot less. So I do like in the book, even books later, there's things about how much licorice they're going to have to get for Flo. And this one, they get her money. And they have like a scene where she's eating some licorice, but basically Lockwood is like, I will help you sell that so you can make a lot of money and please help us. And like, thank you for making her more of a real person.
Yeah, I like in the Stroud books, the way that kid culture is like, in the background in a hard-boiled detective kind of way. Cause this is very hard-boiled detective. Like I know a guy in the underground, because I am not like official police. I'm like independent detective.
Right. Yes.
And then it's like, but I got to bribe him or her, whoever, with their drug of choice. And then it's like licorice.
Yeah.
Or like when they go to different places, they're like, and there were comic books scattered all over and I love that stuff as in terms of like, it gives you the same feel, but it's like this kid inflected kind of fun version of it.
That's fair.
So I agree that if you did that stuff in the show, it would be like, this is cheesy.
Yeah.
But it's kind of cool in the book.
But I do love that she's still eating some licorice here, so we still have that personality trait of hers.
Yeah, that's that's like the perfect way to do that.
And
she calls, I had to look this up. She calls Lucy the latest slapper. Oh. And I was like, what is this? Because she calls her a trollop in the book. And I was like, I know what that is. And I was like, oh, this is, when I looked it up, I was like, this is bad. And Lucy's like properly offended. So like I learned some London slang, I guess, by watching the show.
See, I've never heard the term slapper, but I just got it from context clues.
Like, yeah. It was not nice.
And then they're all like talking shop, and it's great because Lucy and Flo like immediately dislike each other, and Lockwood is just trying to keep the peace while also like trying to talk shop. It's great.
Yeah, he's just trying to get his thing. And he like literally, he literally told her, like, let me just handle it. And Lucy is like,
nope.
I am offended by everything about her.
Because Lucy's always nice.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And I do. Flo does have one of the best lines here where she says, we all make our living with the dead.
Yeah, that's great. She's seeing more clearly than Lucy for sure, or even Lockwood. And she's like, we're all slaves to a system run by the rich.
Yeah.
Where like Lockwood rolls his eyes and he's like, give me a break.
And she, and that they're cogs in the system.
Yeah.
I do. I love everything about Flo's introduction here. I also enjoy how, because I don't know about things in America or I don't know wherever our listeners are, but here in Canada, there's a lot of discussion about homelessness and houseless people right now and how they're being treated abominably. And I like this idea of Flo choosing, like, obviously she has her boat that we see later, but she does sort of look like a stereotypical homeless person, like, especially the way that they describe her in the book. And so I like this point that they make of her choosing to live this way. Because so many people think that people who are down on their luck like that, or not down on their luck, that's my whole point, that they're not down on their luck. That she likes it better this way. She likes being outside the system, even if it doesn't look like a normal life.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely like a choice where it's like a messed up choice, too, because, you know, it's freedom or comfort. And it like underlines the way that like all the resources are hoarded by people who are complicit with the system. That like literally excludes those people who just want to live a different way.
Yeah.
Like she just doesn't want to be one of the kids who gets knocked out so that a relic man can like steal. You know what I mean? Like she just doesn't want to guard a graveyard and have a little bit of independence. And everybody's like, you're an evil monster for doing that.
We learn more about her later in the books, obviously. And I feel like, and this is an interesting thing that I'm just putting together now, because I feel like Flo and another main character that we meet later, who is also a girl, have almost have extremely similar backstories to Lucy. Like they were on a team, everyone died. And it's just interesting how everyone's got the same fucking problems.
Oh, yeah.
And how differently they react to it.
Yeah. It's like military veterans and stuff.
Yeah.
You have like one person, they'll all go through a similar kind of circumstance, and then one person like starts their own company and another person ends up homeless. You know what I mean? Like,
but they're all still friends because trauma bonds you. Yeah. I'm not 100% sure about Flo's team dying, but it was something similar to that.
Yeah. They're all just caught up in this. All the psychic kids have their lives ruined by this stuff.
Yay.
Yeah. I like the way that Lockwood brokers this idea though to her.
Yeah.
Like I'll be the intermediary and all of that stuff to keep her safe. You get the feeling that like he actually does care about keeping her safe.
And you get the feeling vice versa, that she wants him.
Yeah.
Yeah. That you really get that their old friendship, like you just feel that right away.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then I think we're back at the archives.
Yeah, where George has another swirl going on.
The first time I saw this scene, I thought he was doodling in one of the library books, and I was like, but then it's his notebook, so it's fine.
That bothered me too. I was like, what are you doing? This is evil, George. What's happening to you?
It's so un-George. Like, it would have been even more like, oh shit, the mirror has him. And this is really truly when Joplin gets creepy, I feel.
Where she shows up and she's like, so what you doing after this?
Yeah. Oh God.
Yeah. The dynamics of this, because Joplin is a woman and George is a boy, I feel like this is more permissible.
On the
although
surface,
it's not okay.
Yeah, I can see where somebody watching it maybe wouldn't get the creepiness right away, especially because, and I've actually had this experience that I'm about to explain, not the creepy Joplin experience, but like I've worked with younger people before, and when you work together on something, whatever it is, you do get like an equal feeling between the two of you, even if your ages are quite different.
Mm-hmm.
And it is strange to then be like, wait, can we hang out outside of work, or is that weird? It's weird.
George is very mature for his age. No, this is not okay.
No, this is not okay. Yeah. Joplin
I
takes
get what you're
it
saying, though.
Too creepy, but I'm saying if you're the audience watching it, you might not get the creepiness right away, because it does kind of seem like they're working together and they're having this like professional equalism thing, because they, especially through some conversations that they have back when at her place, but it is creepy, and especially when you get to the end, you see how she was manipulating him the whole time.
Yeah. And they set this up pretty nicely in the previous episode where she's like, it's nice to be part of a proper team and like people who care about the things that I care about.
Yeah.
You know, because you can see that Saunders like has no respect for her interest in the relics and
anything
all that
other
kind of
than
stuff.
money.
Right, exactly. And so, on the surface, it just seems like she's kind of like a grown-up version of like George's interests, and they make a natural connection. It's like, well, the ages are off. This is a little bit weird, but like, I think the actress is also playing it perfectly. Like when you rewatch
Louise
everything.
really is doing amazing.
Yeah, this is like hard work, and she's doing it really, really well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, my note was George goes on a date. Like,
it must also be weird. Again, I'm not trying to make excuses for her. I'm trying to point out why you wouldn't at first think that this was bad. But like, because of things like curfew, you can't just walk home and grab dinner on the way, you know? So I can see where somebody saying, no, come over for dinner is just like then we're together and we'll be safer type of thing.
Yeah. And then we switch over to a cafe that's open at night.
Yeah, so there's so much going on in this scene that we have to talk about before we get into any of the conversation.
Yeah.
So first of all, Flo's getting a cup of tea at the counter, and Jonathan Stroud puts milk into her tea.
Oh, wow. I had no idea.
Yes, that is the book author.
Amazing.
But also, like, if some proprietor of a cafe where I ordered tea put milk into my tea for me, I'd be like, what the fuck are you doing? I don't care how many books you've written. I will put my milk into my tea. That is a very personal thing.
That's funny.
And then we see Lockwood buttering this toast, and he's doing it like he flourishes his arm at one point. Like he's doing,
yeah.
Like, what is happening? It's a
with rapier move.
And then he so precisely just puts the toast in front of Lucy.
Yeah, I did that for you.
Yeah.
Isn't
go.
This impressive?
And then Lucy is like, sugar 1, sugar 2, sugar 3, like just pouring the sugar into her tea. Like, I have seen in an interview that Ruby Stokes disagrees that this happened, so it must be an editing thing. Not like she made a choice to put 6 teaspoons of sugar, like that Lucy only likes to drink sugar tea.
Listen, she's been up since 6 a.m.
Yeah.
And like, she's just trying to stay awake.
They've walked all across London. That must be
tired.
That must be where all the time went. Anyway, and then after all this weird setup, then Flo sits down and they have a conversation about Danny.
I also like that the cafe itself is like on a jetty over the water.
Yeah.
That like makes so much sense for this being open at night, and how they talked about how water makes you safe and everything.
Yes.
So like, this is not like a place that George could have gone on his date to necessarily. This is kind of like a place for agents, it seems like, to get sugar in the middle of the night so they can keep working, I guess.
I cannot stop seeing how much sugar she was putting in that tea. And then after that big point of buttering the toast and like putting it in front of Lucy so particularly, nobody eats the toast. But
she doesn't touch it.
No, again, that's like an on-camera thing. So
yeah. But he's like, look what a good provider I am for you. You know?
I hunted and killed this toast for you. I love everything about this like truly chaotic scene. It's great.
Yeah.
Anyways, so then we find out that Danny, here he gave his last name an S. Slough instead of Clough.
Nope. Yeah. Who knows what his name is anymore.
This poor Danny kid. Anyways, we learned that he was abandoned by his agency when his talents faded. Yay.
Seems fine.
Yep.
Seems like...
Had no choice but to fall back onto a life of crime.
Yep. Because, they don't educate you when they don't waste your time of being like, here is maths, here is history, here is, any kind of marketable skill. Yep. You're really on a track to do one thing.
Yeah, I guess when you're done being an agent, you can become a supervisor or you can get into deep rack and that's it.
Yeah. Good luck, because there's plenty of those jobs, I'm sure.
Yeah. So then we learn about Jack Carver and the Winkmans.
Right. So there's a lot of names get dropped in here. I remember I had a hard time with this in the book and the first time I watched the show. It's just like, I'm not good with like name and like who are all they're all the same kind of person. Like they're all relic people. They're all bad people. So I'm just like, okay. And then they mention that person's name later and I'm like, did we talk about that? I don't remember them at all. I'm bad at this kind of stuff, but it is all straight out of the book. So it's like Danny died and now Jack is left over. He's like a new character who probably is the guy who stole the mirror out of the graveyard.
Yeah. So
we need to track down what happened to him. And Flo knows that he's going to get rid of it for money. So Winkman is like a fence. This is all like hard-boiled detective kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Where you're like, you use the underground person to find out who you sell your stolen goods to and stuff on the street, because the detective's not going to know that stuff.
Yes. So the Winkmans are known for selling very expensive relics to rich people. So then we make like a full circle in society.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. This is the circle of death. Circle of life.
Lockwood leaves a note for Jack Carver that basically just says, we know about the mirror and their address, which is great.
Great. I feel like this is another, like Lucy's like, are you okay? Do you need to talk? And then this is another where Lucy's like, whoa, that's a suicide note, dude. Like he's has risky, bad behavior. Like this is not good. This choice that he's making here. Like I get why he does it and everything, but this is supposed to be a signal to us, I feel like.
And like directly after that is when he gives the tendies veg to Flo and she says, I thought you'd be dead by now. So everyone is worried about Lockwood.
That line, the way that she delivers it and like all of her, the way she holds herself, and she calls Lucy darling at one point.
Yeah.
She just feels like 5 or 6 years older than them, like, I don't know if she is, but like emotionally, she's just like, you guys are caught up in a thing that you can't even see the world that you're still a part of. Like the way you're being used and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know, like that actress is just like fantastic.
Yeah, she really nailed it. We should also mention that she calls Lockwood Locky, which is
Locky.
Great.
Really good. Lucy's stressed out about that too. Like, where do you know her from? How long have you known each other?
Right, because obviously she's like you and doesn't realize they were flirting earlier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She has no radar for that.
And we're back to Joplin's, I think.
The George date. What is does Joplin live in a dumpster? What is with her walls and stuff?
Well, my note about her walls was like, nobody has this many mirrors.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It just looks like, I don't know, like it's very maybe I'm totally wrong about this. It just looks like there were 100 pictures on the walls, and then the island of Pompeii was destroyed by a volcano, and then they took the pictures all off the walls and then put new pictures up. There's just like a lot of stuff happening on her walls that it looks like the house maybe burned down once or twice. I don't know.
Maybe it's just supposed to look like
She's like too bookish to
care,
clean up.
but she will hang two mirrors perfectly for the shot.
Yeah.
In her living room.
If I sit right here. Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, I got it perfect.
No, what was I trying to say? Like,
I'm sorry.
So they live in London, which is expensive. So she would have like a small, cheaper apartment, especially since she seems more of like an academic than somebody, which I have to assume that academia in this world is not, is even worse off money-wise.
Oh, yeah.
And then I would also think that because of the problem, like construction and renovation is probably less, like it's probably more difficult, right? And so I would think that a lot of apartments that would have been renovated or knocked down and rebuilt or whatever, that probably just hasn't happened because they don't have the people for it, they don't have the money for it, so everything is just more run down.
Yeah, I guess it's it was just distracting. I was like trying to figure out, is this telling me something? Maybe that's what it's telling me is all the world building that you're talking about.
That would be I've not thought about it at all until you just brought it up.
Yeah.
So that would be my thinking though.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe so. George does a thing here where he starts talking to her about ancient gods as a way to like flirt and make a romantic connection. And I have to tell you, as someone who has the exact kind of hyper-focused interests as George, this doesn't work, George. Like, it's not going to work out for you.
I just wrote down that George and Joplin have a mythology off.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's funny.
It's cool. They get all their facts right. I really appreciated that. And he says the name of the god correctly, just like she says.
But we then learn a little bit about Joplin and about how she never had any talent and how her parents were almost kind of like problem deniers. Or at the very least, they really wanted to hold on to their old lives, which just wouldn't work.
Yeah, that feels like some privilege, right? Like, we're just going to
pretend it's not happening.
Right. Yeah, I like the disjunction there, too.
Yeah, but like, pretend it's not happening. That's how I also react to change.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
So, privilege, but I can understand it.
Yeah, I get it. I don't feel good about it when I do it, but I understand. They bond over caring about the problem. I really like that she had no psychic ability. Yeah, because that like it throws George off for a second. Like it breaks the connection that he feels with her. Mm-hmm. And she is not. It like, I don't know how to say this. Like it trips him up in a way that it doesn't seem to trip her up at all in the conversation, and you just feel that disconnection on rewatches to be like, oh, I see, like George is really falling for this and she's just like keeps going with their conversation.
Yeah, it's also just interesting. I don't think we have heard of children not having talent. Mm-hmm. So it's just nice to know that it's not a for sure thing. It's kind of a maybe.
Yeah, that's a good point. And that it's also interesting that she's like, I wish I had. So maybe there's a lot of people who feel like that.
That is, no, if I was born into this world as a kid without talent, I would also be very upset about that. Mm-hmm. Which is stupid because that's probably like the best. Life. Yeah, that's got to be a better life. But at the time, you'd be like, look at all those other kids, getting to be like adults and blah, 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 blah.
Right.
You wouldn't.
Adventures.
Yeah, adventures. You wouldn't see the death and trauma and PTSD. You would just be like, I want to be there. Yeah. I want to be cool. Especially they don't talk about it much in the show, but in the books, like there's magazines about agents, there's fashion spreads in the newspaper about them or whatever.
Oh, right. Yeah, they glamorize.
Yeah. So that it would be difficult. And this is where the mirrors come into play because they're talking about the mirror. And when we're looking at George, we're looking at him in a mirror.
Right.
And then we switch and we're looking at Joplin in a mirror. But that
George
mirror, we can see the mirror that George was in. So we can still see George's face.
Yeah.
And it's a good shot. Great cinematography.
Cool.
But also...
weird.
Who does that in their living room, dining room area?
What a coincidence.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I have a single mirror outside of the bathroom. I can't. Well,
I have one in my bedroom.
Yeah, there's one in the bedroom and that's it. Yeah. Yeah. Not where we eat. That would be weird. Exactly. That would be so weird.
I don't want to look at myself while I eat, and I don't want to look at two of my roommates or whatever while they eat. Like what? I don't.
Yeah.
It's a choice. It's a great shot though. It just doesn't make sense.
It's super cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we have Lockwood making poor decisions.
Yeah. This is really good because he is committed to she's like, why don't we get a cab if we need to go so fast? And he reveals that he's decided to die tonight.
Yeah.
I want to derail us a little bit.
Okay.
I know we're already long. But I want to talk about, because at this point when I was watching the episode for the podcast, I was like, oh my God, the Freudian death drive on this angsty boy is so thick that how am I not going to be able to resist talking about Freudian death drive with him? He just wants to fuck up his life and he needs to calm down. So I just want to talk about death drive for a little bit because I feel like it's all over the show, but it's definitely, they've really turned it up with Lockwood. I guess this is a thing that's more in the later books that they're bringing forward in a way.
Yes.
I guess, I mean, he's always making bad choices, but this is a different level, I feel like.
I would say Lockwood's whole death thing is most prevalent in book 5, but there's a bit in book 3 too. But the stuff in book 3 is mostly Lucy being worried about it, while the stuff in book 5 is literally so this is where I'm going to be buried.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. My life is over and it's been over. Yeah. Yeah, that's not good. Yeah, so probably everyone's heard of Sigmund Freud, and whatever you think about him, he is a very important person in terms of constructing a model of the human mind and stuff. And he's, we talked about ectoplasm, and he's it's a similar kind of thing where he's one of these really important people in the 1800s who intellectualizes a whole field that becomes a new capitalist market of talk therapy, where we've really gotten away from Freud's idea of we should recalibrate society and the way that we educate people about how the mind works so that we can create a better society, to be we should just treat the symptoms forever and milk that market for everything it's worth.
Right.
So we just won't change things. We'll just help you cope by talking to a therapist. But he had this idea called the pleasure principle. And the way that this idea works is if, we're recording the podcast, or you look at your recording thing, there's a flat line when we don't say anything. And then when you talk, there's all these waves happen. And then when you stop talking again, it's flat again. Right. And that's kind of what the pleasure principle is for Freud. It's you're just normal, equilibrium. And then you get hungry or something, and that's all the waves. You're disturbed, he calls it being excited. And then you eat some food, you do something about whatever it is you're excited about. And then it goes back to being flat and normal. And that is, for Freud, that's pleasure.
Okay.
Is getting rid of the disturbed feeling, whatever it is. You want to have sex, or you want to eat, or you want to have an argument, whatever it is. Once it's out of your system, then ta-da, pleasure.
You did just make me go check my levels.
Everything working?
Yeah, everything's good.
So this is what he believes for most of his career. And then World War I happens, and he keeps getting these veterans who are like having PTSD, basically. They have like shell shock or whatever they called it back then. And the mind is not working the way that it's supposed to, according to his model, because they keep going back to the battlefield in their minds, no matter what is happening, and returning over and over to this trauma. And the mind should like be getting over it, right? If he's right about his model. And he comes up with this new model that's called the death drive, where instead of being like equilibrium, disturbance, and then back to equilibrium, what the mind is really doing is like equilibrium is boring. And the mind is like, I want to be excited and interested in things. And so I'm going to move towards the disturbance. And I'm never going to resolve the disturbance, because then it goes back to being boring again. But for like, and that's the unconscious mind is doing that, because it wants things to be interesting. But your conscious mind suffers because it's like, I just want things to be normal. You know, I want things to go, be like pleasurable.
Right.
And we're caught in this cycle. And so for Freud, like when you have this big trauma, like say you're orphaned at age 6, for example, that you would be constantly returning to the idea of death the way that Lockwood is, and be fixated on it and not be able to move past it, because it's more exciting to be like trying to put yourself in all these perilous situations where you might die than it is to like have a cuppa and just like enjoy being around Lucy. And so like this, I just see like all of his choices are like very death drive influence. There's later thinkers who talk about this sort of like, you have like a goal in mind, like, he wants to go to Winkman's, and the death drive makes you do this thing where you move towards your goal, but you move away from it at the same time. And so it ends up being kind of a circular motion, like you kind of go around it, and you're constantly closing in on your goal, but you're always moving away from it. And so the motion of that, when you plot it, is literally a spiral inwards, and like the death spiral that we keep getting. And a lot of later thinkers after Freud even call this an undead drive, where you would just constantly, unthinkingly be like, this is how people get addicted to things, and just their whole personality evacuates, and they are just only about harming themselves, because it's the mind is so activated by it. It can't find equilibrium anymore. So it's like a whole thing. I'm very worried about Lockie here. He's like, we're going to go to Winkman's. She's like, the place where Flo said they're murderers and they'll definitely kill us. Yep. Did you not hear her call me darling and then condescend to me? Like, we should not go there.
I do like that Lucy only got condescension, and even she's like, maybe we should listen, Yeah. And Lockwood is just like, only bad decisions, no therapy.
No therapy. For real. It's so bad. But I get it, because like that's what angst is. Like I don't know. Like whenever I learned about death drive, I was like, oh, this is totally real, because like I know that I feel good when it does feel good to be like angsty, right? Like it's that you're not making a good choice, but you're like, oh, I'm fighting, I'm in the thing, and it feels better to do that than to like resolve it and have it be over. I don't know why, like, but it does.
I think one takes work and like looking at yourself, which no one likes to do.
Yeah. Why? Yeah. No therapy. Only bad choices.
Only bad choices. So we enter into the Winkman's warehouse.
Yeah, their lair. I love right before they go in there.
Right.
Lucy like suggests the entire scenario that actually happens in the book.
Yeah.
And Locke
that was
like,
good.
See you later. Yeah. I'm not doing that.
Which is great, because Book Lockwood, who loves dressing up and doing an accent, is all over that shit. Yeah.
They do. They like have bad costumes and have like a ridiculous plan and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But they don't do that.
Yeah, no, this makes more, keeps things moving.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love the set design in here. I love any set where it looks like they just put the whole prop storage, like the whole prop house is just on set today.
Oh, true.
You know,
Yeah, you
like
could.
they just went through their prop storage and was like, yes, 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 yes.
That's funny. I didn't
And
think
then
of that at
just
all.
set dressed with everything. Why
There's
would
cool
you
sound work
if you,
too.
yeah, there is. I was going to just, why would you think of it if you've never been in a prop storage area where you're
Yeah,
like, oh,
exactly.
I found a foam hamburger. What?
Right.
It looks real. That's weird. True story. Um, but yeah, no, the sound design in here is good because everything in there is a relic. So Lucy's just like, I don't know about this.
Oh yeah, it's really disturbing, especially like when I watched it with my headphones. I was like, oh, I don't. This
Yeah.
is bad.
And they do a good
Yep.
job with the subtitles too. And it's because it's like,
Yeah.
man croaks. Ugh.
Right. Door slams, things
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, it's weird.
Um,
Lockwood has the incredible plan of if someone shows up, you hide.
I wrote
So
down Lockwood
no
is
problem.
just abandoning sense.
Yeah, this is crazy. There's no plan at all.
There's no
He's
plan. There's just find the mirror.
Yeah.
And then Lockwood gets electrocuted. Oh, well, first we meet the kid, Leopold,
Uh-huh. This poor kid.
which I kind of like what they've done with him in the show here. Because in the books, he was just a fucking snot.
Oh yeah, he's a mini me of Winkman,
Yeah.
basically.
But they've really made it more disturbing in there with
Yeah.
what they've done with this kid and how he's like clutching a relic. Or
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Maybe
have to
his
assume
relic.
I don't. Okay, so that's a little world buildy question mark to me because if it is his relic, doesn't he have to be dead for it to give off anything?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how it works. Yeah, because like when she touched George's mug, she got nothing.
She got nothing. But I mean,
Yeah.
it does just sort of hold a toothbrush, and
Mhm.
and this one the kid is clutching all the time. But the dead thing, I'm unsure about what's happening there.
It's disturbing for sure, though.
Yeah.
You feel bad for the kid.
Either way, if it's his relic, bad things are happening to him, and if it's somebody else's relic that he's just holding all the time, like that's real shitty
That's
too.
really messed up. Yeah, that's extra messed up.
Yeah. But then Mrs. Winkman, I don't remember her name, electrocutes Lockwood for the first time because there's going to be more later, and he passes out, and Lucy hides.
It's so good because there's like no chance for him to talk. Or it's like the best choice. It's so good.
And then we have George at home, and
for like 2 seconds.
He looks abandoned.
Yeah.
Yeah, poor George. I mean, he's the only one who doesn't get electrocuted, so maybe good for you, George.
He makes more food, which I was like, it's a George thing.
And then Lockwood wakes up in an electric chair with torture tools around him.
Yeah, this is terrifying.
Like, oh, buddy.
The most terrifying thing about this is like right as he's first waking up, we're kind of like in his POV.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, like it's blurry and the darkness is like opening in a way like your eyelids would and stuff. And you can see that Lockwood has no laces in his shoes. And I was like, how, Lockwood? How do you survive in this world with no laces on your shoes? How do your shoes not just fly off your feet?
I did not notice that.
I was very worried for Lockwood at that point.
Oh, God, that does put a whole different spin on this scene. No laces. Maybe they tied him up with them. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe they took him out.
Yeah.
I literally was like, wait, I need to rewind and see if he has laces in other scenes, but like I couldn't tell.
Yeah, how does he run away with no laces?
I don't know. It really bothers me. But it's obviously does not matter at all for this scene, which is genuinely scary. I feel like
it is, yeah. And I think they do a good job with the scene of making Winkman scary while keeping this mostly appropriate for children.
Yeah.
Mostly.
Yeah.
You know, like I do feel like were this an adult show, worse things would have happened to Lockwood.
Yeah.
And probably Lucy, but they do a good job of still keeping it pretty scary.
Yeah. This is it's very disturbing. Like it's all vibes. It's not, which is I think it's kind of worse in a way. Like if you actually
as a
like
TV show, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's like the move to make to be like, because you're imagining things, and then it's
and
whatever's worse for you.
You don't know what's going to happen when. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, there's extreme close-ups and stuff too. I was thinking about what you were saying before about like how that makes it weird, and I was like, oh yeah, this is like
once it's pointed out to you, you'll notice it every time, and you're like, oh yeah, this is kind of a weird scene. Why are we this close to your face?
It works. It like gives you that bad feeling.
Yeah.
You're very in his head.
And I enjoy how Lockwood kind of keeps it together as being his normal snotty self until they bring in Lucy. And then he's just a scared kid.
Yeah, he's terrified. He does a really good job of like, the actor does a really good job of like transmitting to us, the audience, that he is afraid.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because like when Winkman can't see him, he's like breathing hard, his eyes are really big, he's like scared, and then when they're face to face again, he's cool and has it together and just lies really smoothly.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah,
I think we've talked a lot about how Cameron Chapman does an amazing job with everything really that they give him. I wrote down a line here and I have it's a good line, but I have no idea who says it or why I wrote it down. But it says, burdened by the business of death. Great line. Somebody must have said it.
Winkman says that.
Winkman?
Yeah.
Great.
He says we're all burdened by the business of death.
Great line. Should have given myself some context.
It is a good line. Yeah, that actor is like a Game of Thrones veteran. It's a very different role. He's really, really good as this psychopath. Yeah, he's like a good guy in that, and this is like
he was like
a good range.
One of John's friends, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's like the guy up there who's like the dependable, good one. Yeah. I like here too how his plan is like, it's chillingly smart, where he's like, I'll just open your wrists up and dump you in an alley and no one's going to question that because you're burdened by the business of death.
That's what it is. Okay.
And that's like the whole thing, right? Like that's the death drive. And it's like, this is what he wants in some sense, but he's scared of wanting it too. He is committing suicide via Winkman, but like, he doesn't really want that.
Especially not with Lucy.
No,
I would say.
No, it's terrifying when she gets electrocuted and stuff. I remember the first time that I watched this because I had read the book and I was like expecting a totally different like comedy scene or something. And then all of this happened and I was like, holy shit, like what's going to happen to them? Is George going to have to like save them? I was like very worried about all of this.
And then when they do get away, and like literally Lockwood gets electrocuted in that chair. And then afterwards, everyone's fine.
Yeah.
Like he has like a moment when they're running down the street where he's like, like he has like a pain. And that's it. He's just good.
And then he's got to get over it to get back to George.
And on one hand, I assume that they did that specifically to kind of downplay that they were just tortured. Well, that Lockwood in particular was tortured. Lucy gets electrocuted too, and it knocks her out for a bit. But because like it is almost a kid's show, right?
Yeah. This happens all the time. Like people get knocked on the head on TV shows and they're right back up and they're fine.
Yeah.
No concussions.
So I get what they were doing, but still.
Yeah, it's messed up. The way that he turns on that machine and the way that Chapman plays getting electrocuted seems like serious business to me. Like
a little pit of despair going on there.
I 100% thought the same thing. And I was like, I can't say that because it makes me too old.
Oh,
no one will know.
We're just embracing. We're just embracing it. And they have this one moment where we cut back to George when he like punches the window because he sees Bigger's staff.
Dead face.
The dead staff. And then you see the skull laughing at him.
Yeah.
That's good. And that's creepy and weird. And it kind of amps up the tension back in like the torture scene too.
Yeah, everybody's
no one's having a good
going
time.
Down. Yeah, it's bad.
But eventually Lucy has a plan and gets them out of there.
Which just seems to like, luckily that stuff was flammable, I guess. She was playing possum
Yeah.
for a while, and it'd be funny if she did all that and he's like, this is water.
But whatever, it works. They get out. And then
why does she have a lighter? I don't
that makes sense to me, actually, because the books talk about how they have like they all in their belts, they always have sources for non-electric light because ghosts mess with electric stuff.
Oh, that does make sense.
So they would always have like candles or gas lanterns or something like that.
As an American, it literally messes me up every single time they say like, and then I torch this. Yeah. And it's like, what? They're walking around with wood. Oh no, wait, that's not a torch. I got it. Okay.
So yeah, then we're out on the street and they're just having a talk about their feelings, or Lucy's trying to sort of reach into Lockwood. Like, what the fuck was that all about? Because he went on that spiel about, don't kill her, just kill me. No one will care. Please just kill me.
What was your fucking plan, dude? Like, you can talk to me. I am your friend.
And you can kind of see that Lockwood wants to, but he just can't.
Yeah. Dude needs Jesus Christ. Like,
dude needs Jesus.
I'm just so worried about Lockwood. Like, please.
Yeah, talk to someone, buddy. Also, I feel like this is where he really embraces the dark circles under his eyes.
Yeah.
Like, he does not look healthy for the rest of the show.
No.
And then they remember George.
Yeah, and that they set up a trap of their house.
Yeah.
To be like, please come here, guy who steals relics and murders his partners, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, so then they get a cab home. Although, again, they have both just been electrocuted. Lockwood a little bit more than Lucy, a little bit.
A little bit.
So this is wild, but they're moving on, so we're moving on.
Yep. And they break into the house.
I think they use their keys, but yeah.
Yeah. But it's like, for George, there's like a little bit of a jump because we're on George's face and then we hear them come in. Then there's ominous knocking at the door. They all freak out.
I find knocking on a door to always be creepy.
It's bad. It makes me jump every time someone does it.
I don't enjoy it. Maybe because I don't enjoy it in real life. Yeah. But also, no, I don't like it. Anyways, Carver comes in with a knife in his back.
This makes no sense, I think. It's right out of the book. It's really, really good. Like, if you're gonna, as a writer, dramatic choice, this is the most dramatic choice. So I think it's the right choice, but it's like crazy. How did this happen? Like, it happened on the porch? What happened? Why did they wait until that moment?
He must have been like running away from her, right? From Joplin.
Hope so.
And just with a knife in his back. And I guess he was already close to... Here's what
Or she was like, I'll wait till he gets on the porch. And then bam, and then run away. Like,
yeah. How would she have even known that he was going to be there?
Right.
No, she must have been tracking him down after George left. Because she wouldn't have waited for him. She would have no idea that he was going to go there.
Yeah, she followed him.
Yeah.
And then it's like, where is he going? And then she's like, oh shit, I know where that is. So I went there the other day. For the interview. And
yes. Sorry. I was thinking about next episode when she comes over again. And
so we're like spoiling this whole thing, but like just the logistics of it are really confusing to me.
So yeah, I guess she decided, well, can't let him talk to them.
Right.
About me. So stabs him and then runs away. And then he goes in. I guess that kind of makes sense, but yeah.
It's dramatic.
It is dramatic.
You feel like you would have pulled him away before then or been like, hey, come here, or anything other than like, I'll stab and you run. In the back and run. Hope that killed you. Goodbye.
So then as he's dying, he does say the words bone glass, which I don't think we've heard before.
Yeah.
And 7, not 1.
He was on his way to 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
They don't have those in London.
I don't know about that. They might.
Yeah, they probably do. Globalization.
And then George, like when it comes out that he's seen in the mirror, George is like, oh my God, what did you see? And they have this great thing where he says terrible things and he delivers it perfectly. Like, I have no idea who this actor is. He's on screen for 2 seconds, but he delivered that great.
Oh yeah, he is really good actually. Like it's not, I don't think it's easy to die without being like corny. He does a great job. last words are like really hard to do. Yeah. All this stuff is great. Like I don't want people to feel like I'm making fun of it and saying it's stupid. Like I love this stuff. It's just like, but then my other brain turns on and I'm like,
it's
wait
like
a minute.
The time of the day thing. Like,
yeah, exactly.
When you pick apart an episode, you notice all these things that you don't notice when you're just binging through the show. Yeah. And you're like, maybe it would have been better if I turned my brain off, but oh well. And then they have him, whisper, but only Lucy can hear when he says, "Come with me." And that's really good too.
Yeah. His last words. That's very
after
creepy.
He's died.
Yeah.
Oh, so good. And it's just such, I don't know why that tickles me so much. Like, it's good how they do it. I love this idea that with Lucy only being the only one to hear him and that being how everyone says, he's dead. You heard afterwards. And then, but also the words themselves. So interesting. Like, what did
it's also,
I don't know.
Like,
I love it.
It's a good like bookend when you think about how she was trying to talk to Skull at the beginning and she was like right face to face with him and she's right face to face with this guy.
That's true.
As and does hear his words from the afterlife and everything the way that she wanted to from Skull. It's just it's very satisfying. It's like a perfect ending.
Yeah, it's really good. And then how they're all just like sitting there defeated as the drums start of the closing credits.
Yeah.
That's good. We talked about a lot of good things in this episode, and this was actually my least favorite episode.
It's a very like middle chapter where we're just moving.
Yeah, it does feel very much like they go here and they do this to set up this thing that happens later.
Have to introduce characters and move plots.
But there's still a lot of good things. Like, I'm not saying I disliked the episode. I'm just saying if I had to rank them, this would be number 8.
Mm-hmm. I after talking about it, I feel like a lot better about it. Like there's so much good stuff that was here to talk about. So like it was good. Yeah,
I genuinely thought this was going to be a short episode, but we managed an hour and a half again. So
guaranteed.
That's great. Like when I was taking my notes, I was just writing down facts. Like they went here and they did this, this happened. I wasn't writing down anything to talk about, but then we found things to talk about as we do.
Mm-hmm. Turns out the show is good. Even the bad episodes are good.
Not bad, just not as good as the rest of them, I feel.
Yeah.
Because like so many have either visual or story themes throughout that are fun to like pick apart and follow through. And this one is literally just, they go here, they do this. They go here, they do this. They go here, they do this.
Doing the work.
Yeah. But they still managed to get in some really good stuff.
Great.
Most punk rock.
I feel like it's when I derailed us and he's like, we gotta break into Winkman's. That's what felt the most like off the rails.
Interesting. I feel like this is 2 episodes now where I've been like, there's only one option, and you have been like Lockwood, and I've been like, no, Lockwood. What are you talking about, Lockwood? It's Flo.
Flo is super punk rock.
It's Flo being like, you're stuck in the cogs. What the fuck are you doing?
That's true.
That for me.
She's like healthy punk rock.
Yeah. Lockwood is unhealthy.
Lockwood is toxic punk rock.
Toxic. I like it. I just think that's funny that I'm like, Lockwood is never punk rock. And you're like, yeah, he can be a little.
Only when it's bad, though. It's like it's really bad for him. I was like, oh, no, you're going against the system, but the system is like staying alive,
Okay. If you want to follow the show and interact with us and the rest of the like Save Lockwood & Co. community, you can find us on Twitter at Lockwood Podcast. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, you can at Inferior Caitlin. All I really do is whine about work. So I don't know if you want to. Sometimes I whine about my illness, which is also super entertaining for everyone other than me.
If you want to send us an email, you can do that. Contact at hollowedgroundmedia.com. Thank you for everyone who has sent us emails. Or you can visit our contact page at hollowedgroundmedia.com/contact.
And remember, Suicide Pact it is then. And remember, Suicide Pact. Oh my God, we didn't do punk rock.
Oh, we didn't. You're right.
Hold on.
How did I cut that part out?
Hold on. I'm gonna do the and remember, and then we can do punk rock, and I can move it. And remember, Suicide Pact it is then.
That would have been funny if we just stopped and then remembered like tomorrow.